Hello everyone out there. DSP here for a very special event that was completely unplanned. The last time that I did a DSP Reacts a couple weeks ago, it was planned ahead of time, plotted out nicely. This is not the case tonight, okay? Due to the overwhelming positive reaction to the last DSP Reacts that I did, I decided to do an impromptu one because I can't do what I wanted to do tonight. There's an Xbox outage, okay? So, on the fly, I was like, what can I do quickly for a night stream that's like a 2-hour stream? And I was looking around at Frederick Nutson's channel again at some of his shorter videos. And one of the ones that's quite short, it's only about 40 minutes long, is this one called the Final Fantasy House. Now, just so everyone understands, I have no idea what we're about to watch. I have no clue what the content of this video is, all right? But it was recommended to me when I was doing the Wings of Redemption React a couple weeks ago. And actually, Frederick Nudson himself recommended this to me, saying if you were going to watch more React content from my channel, once you do stuff you're familiar with, you might want to do this one. I was like, okay. So, we'll see. I don't know anything about it. It should be interesting. I'm going to tackle this one exactly the way that I did the last one with Wings of Redemption. We're going to watch it together. I'll be pausing, commenting, and going on the fly like that. There will be some, contributions coming in that I'll be shouting out, and we'll do it just like last time. In fact, we have a couple shout-outs here. We have another super chat. This one is from Young Sinatra, asking me to play MLB The Show 22. And I may do that. It is on Game Pass, so if it ever, if Xbox ever works again, I might do it. But right now, I can't play anything on Xbox because it's down, which is why we're doing this on the fly tonight. Okay? All right. And it looks like I got another tip from Slayer. He's saying, yes, the videos he has recommended are pretty short. Okay, I see that. Cool. Thank you, Slayer. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but thank you, Slayer. Thank you for the tip. I'll have to give it a look when I get a chance. All right, guys. Let's do this. I have no idea what's about to happen. You guys ready? All right. Here we go. Hoo boy. Down the rabbit hole, huh? Final Fantasy House. What the fuck does that mean? A house with people dressing like Final Fantasy characters or something? Ponage 101 to me $5, and I was talking about incentive to be a member. We're not going to talk about incentive to be a member tonight, Ponage. Let's watch the video, okay? We can talk about that after. We can talk about that another time. Let's not change the subject. Let's watch the video, okay? Not going to debate the rationale of me doing this when I'm literally doing it. Right? Thank you for the tip, though, Ponage. I appreciate that, but we'll debate that after. All right, ready? Let's go. Well, it's Final Fantasy VII.
Of the early internet stories, there are few as infamous as the Final Fantasy House. Though the details are unclear to most who remember it, its reputation is still sometimes invoked on forums in reference to terrible housemates or the eccentric potential from online communities.
I kind of wanted to read that just as a preface here. Now you can't like just tick. You can't. The YouTube app is a piece of shit.
Are unclear to most who remember it.
It's what the other guy said, basically. Some chick internet mind-controlled losers from the internet into coming to live in her squalid apartment and made everyone roleplay as Final Fantasy characters 24/7. I think goons dug into it all at some point years ago. Okay. I guess this is going to be this is going to be interesting. Who played the Moogle? The King of Hate, Jay Hale, to me $8, says, based React stream, Halo sucks anyway. Well, thank you, Jay Hale, for the tip. That is the big, it's not the biggest tip of the night. It's the second biggest tip of the night. Thank you for that. No, wait, it is the biggest tip of the night. It is the biggest tip. Let me get that up there quickly. And stop talking about Jay Hale's big tip. And instead get to the content. I want to know what's going on here. Okay, it's $8. Come on. Why can't I type? Here, I'll press play while we do
Its
this.
reputation is still sometimes invoked on forums in reference to terrible housemates or the eccentric potential from online communities, especially fandoms. What's more, it was one of the main channels through which internet users were introduced to the otherkin phenomenon. So what was the Final Fantasy
I don't even know
House?
what that is. Otherkin. Never even heard of that. Another world, man. All right.
On April 18th, 2005,
Wow,
a live
2005.
journal user under the handle of GenkiCrack made a long, scattered post detailing an experience with specific fans of Final Fantasy VII, a popular and influential story-driven game from Japan.
Incredibly overrated. I always say that. It's a fine game, but I like Final Fantasy 2 and 4 way better than, well, 4 and 6. Excuse me. 4 and 6 way better than 7. I think 7 went 3D. Everyone loved it because it was 3D, but it wasn't as good as the previous games.
He introduced it by writing, "These people are dangerous. This is
Whoa.
not a joke. This is my experience with them." He began by explaining his place within the fandom. Quote, "Most people watching the journal now probably don't know this, but back in the day, I ran a pretty popular website devoted to the characters Cloud and the very minor character, Zack, from Final Fantasy VII. It was really the only comprehensive one out there about the two, which was why it got such notice. I was used to receiving fan mail or other people's fan art, which I'd put up on the website." Unquote. At the time of his alleged experience, he explained that he was a college freshman and a heavy drinker. In 2002, he was contacted by a person calling herself Hojo,
So 2002, okay. Very, we're talking a long time ago, 20 years ago. I wonder if it was like a shitty GeoCities. Remember GeoCities websites, the free ones you could get, and you just slap a bunch of shit on there in 5 minutes? I wonder if that's what it was.
referencing the mad scientist villain from the game, and the two began conversing with each other occasionally over AOL Instant Messenger.
Who wants
Hojo
smaller
had her
pain?
own fan site dedicated to
There
her
you go.
namesake, and following the same pattern, she began calling the writer Zack after his site. At the time, he thought nothing of this. Sometime after, he was introduced to Hojo's wife, who went by Genova, or Jen, after an ancient evil and alien creature from the game. The writer describes their first encounter online. Quote, "Then came a good old bombshell. I was asked if I had any memories of past lives. I do believe in past lives. I think it's a pretty valid cycle given how many cultures believe in it. So I told her no, I didn't, but I did believe in it. I should never, ever have said that. It was like inviting the vampire into my house.
What the?
Jen's attack was swift and sure. She began in a flurry explaining things to me, how there are alternate universes. Do you grant me that? Sure, there could be. And in those universes, maybe, just maybe, video games actually happened. I thought it could be plausible, because I like imagining anything's possible.
I would love to visit the universe where there's a plumber running around jumping on giant mushrooms that explode, and they kick turtles that act like sliding projectiles to knock down walls.
Through all of this and all this flurry, she tells me that she thinks in a past life, I was Zack from Final Fantasy VII. Think about it, she said. You're both country grown. You both have that instinct of dragging off friends who could be left behind. You'd take a bullet for someone, right? You say you don't believe in magic or any of that, and he wanted to be a mercenary. For all of his 5 or 6 lines, you have a similar speech pattern. You even live in a basement like he was locked in one, and you hate it.
Wow.
Addle your brain with freshman idiocy and vodka, and this will suddenly make sense. Sure, maybe I'm not him now, I said, but it was possible.
He actually said it was possible. If anyone at any time in my life had said to me, hey, do you think that previously in another life, you were a anthropomorphic blue hedgehog that ran in loop-de-loops and collected golden rings, I'd probably say, close conversation, close conversation, close conversation. Okay. But he's admitting he's a drunken idiot, so I guess that's the preface for this.
Unquote. The writer agreed to meet them in the town of State College, Pennsylvania that winter to stay at their apartment a week before Christmas.
It's nice
He was
looking.
met at the bus stop by Hojo, wearing a lab coat, who escorted him back to where they were living.
Wearing a
Quote,
lab coat.
When we arrived at the apartment, Jen, who insisted I call her Genova and would often refer to herself as Jenny Nova, came storming up to Hojo and I, screaming in Hojo's face. I have no idea what it was about. She was wearing a purple skirt pulled up around her breasts. It looked like she had just got out of bed, and I was, to say the very least, intimidated. About 3 seconds later, she whirled around in a quick change, suddenly the nicest person ever. Whatever she was mad about was out the window. About this time, I started to realize, though, Jen wasn't role-playing when she talked about her children and other selves. Jen is what the internet calls a soul bonder, or in other words, batshit loony. She believes she has a lot of people living in her head talking, and when she wants to take on a personality that best fits a situation for her personal gain, she acts one out. I.e., if she wanted to get sympathy, she would raise the pitch of her voice and pretend to be an innocent child.
Okay, we're 4 minutes in. We're 4 minutes in, and this would be me cutting and running, getting the fuck out. I want nothing to do with these people. I absolutely no more interaction. Completely cut it out. act like you never met them, block them on all online communication forums. Of course, you can't do that in 2002. I guess block the email address, you know, close your AOL Instant Messenger or whatever. What the fuck? We're 4 minutes in, and already this is like, what the fuck? Red flag, no, no, no. Do not involve, get away, right? Like, every possible thing that you could see. Okay.
Unquote. Despite these occurrences, the writer's overall experience was positive, and he would frequently return for visits.
Oh, the overall experience was positive, except for the nut jobs that you were with the whole time. Okay.
Each time paying $300 for a bus ticket. With every visit, he would meet someone new, many of them soul bonders themselves. Jen would frequently ask for money to buy food, and the writer would relent, feeling a sense of obligation. She would also attempt to help the writer and others grow more attached to whatever Final Fantasy character she had assigned to them. This was achieved through various means, including pantomimed magical battles and a past life regression involving laying on the floor and listening to music from the game. In one instance, on a trip to the college, she and Hojo locked the writer in a soundproof room past the point of panic to help him, quote, remember being Zack. Another time, when meeting someone soul-bonded to the character Eris, Jen attempted to coax them into sleeping together. To this end, she announced that she was going to lace their food with aphrodisiacs. But whether she actually did so or not, her demands were not realized.
So why would you be returning to this situation? Right? If obviously the people are nuts. They're nuts. Why would you go back? He said he had several trips and they were always so good. Oh yeah. Like, you're out of your mind. The moment someone's acting like this, you say, no, you need help, and please don't involve me in this, because this is, I mean, it would be funny if it was like, okay, you thought they were joking, but it's obvious these people have issues, and people who are like this, it could be dangerous if you allow them to be entertained. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is crazy stuff. They're going to drug each other now and shit. No, I'm gone. It's almost like it sounds like a cult, the beginning of a cult, right?
As strange as these instances were, however, they were not enough to dissuade the writer when Jen and Hojo proposed that he move in with them. The writer moved into the State College apartment in the summer of 2003 with plans to only stay for the season. Within 3 days, he found a part-time job at a supermarket to help pay for food and rent, and he quit drinking as well. But his experience quickly degraded. Quote, I can't even say what came first, chicken or egg, but let's just say that after 1 week, I was getting sick of it. I was the workhorse. I guess because I was Zack, I was therefore the manly man, as opposed to Jen the Cetra Queen or Hojo the frail scientist.
Now wait a minute. Was he paying rent? Because he said he moved in, but was he paying rent? If he's not paying rent, then maybe, earn your keep. You got to do all the work around the house. That could make sense. They didn't clarify if he's actually paying any rent here. He just said he just moved in.
And quit her babysitting job and refused to look for another one. I was the one who had to carry groceries to and from the house, the one who made the money to feed everyone, the one who had to fix or move furniture when it needed to be fixed or moved. My computer could rarely get online because Jen was on almost 24/7. The rest of the time she would watch me as I typed, so I could never make a journal entry that read something along the lines of, Jen is abusing me, help me God, I'm tired and I want out of here.
Well, that's because you should have just left.
Jen's pattern of surveillance worsened quickly. She would always be listening in on calls, reading his online interactions, and demanding to know wherever he was going to keep track of him. She would frequently wake him up in the middle of the night for sundry magical errands, depriving him of sleep. She demanded he spend his meager paycheck on $10 steaks for dinner, which made him sick. And when those would only last one night, she and Hojo had him ask for unsold food at the supermarket. Nobody in the apartment would take out the garbage or clean besides the writer, who only washed the dishes. And so...
Is the audio cracking for you guys? Because it is cracking for me in my headphones. And I don't know if you guys are hearing that or not. I don't know if that's actually the YouTube app doing it, my headphones doing it. Are you hearing cracking audio at all? No? It's the headphones then. Perhaps this cord is loose. I'm glad that I asked then. In fact, maybe I'll unplug and replug, because I am getting a little bit of cracking in his voice and I can't really hear what he's saying. The echo you're hearing is just the headphones, guys. It was exactly the same as the last one I did of these. They're always going to sound like this. There's nothing you can do about it. In a video game, you don't hear it because there's all this noise going on. and just someone speaking, you'll always hear echo. Okay, so just you gotta get over it. There's nothing I can do about that. Brandon Cole says on his end, audio is fine. Okay, so on your end, okay, cool. All right, let's continue. Hopefully this fixed it.
Oh, the stink festered in the apartment in the hot Pennsylvania summer.
The stink.
Jen only wore a single dress and refused to bathe, opting instead to use scented oil. The writer described the smell in the apartment as rotting flesh and a miasma of filth with Sparkle Sunshine Fairy artificial sugar scent sprayed over it. What's
this is gross, and The thing is, I have a little bit of perspective on this, being someone who used to play Street Fighter at a competitive level and going into an arcade where guys are packed like fucking sardines and they're just sweating profusely and smelling, and there's not enough air conditioning to go around, and some of them didn't shower the day before, and it smells pretty fucking absolutely disgustingly right. But the good news is I was only there for like the day for the arcade, for the tournament. I wasn't living in that condition. Ugh.
More, Jen and Hojo would beat each other loudly and with increasing frequency behind their bedroom door as the summer continued, each time followed by noisy sex. This pattern of starvation, sleep deprivation, surveillance, and social isolation eroded the writer's will, and he began...
That's like hell. You're basically living in hell, so why is he not gone? Well, seriously, he has got the job. He's making all the money. He's paying for everything. He's doing everything. Why is he there? Why are you in this situation? You can leave. Like, I'm really at a loss at this point. The moment any of this started to happen, you should have been gone, right?
Supporting them blindly. For example, while the writer was staying there, Eris grew tired of Jen, and the two had a falling out. The writer described the aftermath. Quote, apparently, Eris called one evening when Hojo and I were at the used bookstore, stealing books, yes, that poor, and said she wanted some of her things back that she had left at the apartment. Jen exploded. She called Hojo's cell phone in tears, screaming she was going to kill herself. I believed it. Hojo called Sid and demanded he go over. Hojo called Eris.
Wait, who's Sid? How many people are living there? I thought it was only like 3 or 4. There's a Sid involved now? There's way more people than I thought. Why are they all in this situation?
And screamed at her. I told her off too. We rented a taxi with money we didn't have and raced home. Jen, who had been screaming she had slit her wrists, was sitting in the middle of the floor. Sid was draping damp cloths on her wrists. I woke up for a second and knew this was bullshit. I had a problem with self-injury, so I knew very well the site of a deep cut and the site of a light cut. I know well knife wounds. Jen had scratched herself, horizontally on the wrists. Maybe it had been with a safety pin or a butter knife. It was not any kind of suicide attempt. At the most, it would sting. But I was still mad at Eris because I was supposed to be. I wrote her nasty emails. I joined them in bashing her. I ignored her when she came to pick up her stuff.
Wait, I'm so lost. Now I'm already confused. So there was a housemate who was supposed to be playing the role of Eris from the game. And the housemate somehow had a falling out with the other housemates. So the one who was playing Genova decided to pretend to commit suicide. What? I'm lost.
Though she obviously wanted to still be friends with me. I regret that now because we never reconciled then. Maybe if I had got a clue and tried to get out with her, things would have turned out different. Unquote. Soon he was left with no money to leave and no confidence to ask for help. Even when he attempted to talk to his father at a payphone, Jen would go hunting for him. Then, when the filth in the apartment grew unbearable, Jen and Hojo asked their landlord if they could move to a smaller, single-room apartment, further increasing their proximity. The writer was the one to move the boxes. Soon after the move, the supermarket cut the writer's job to 1 hour a week. But even so, Hojo took all of them out to buy new things for the apartment, implying that she had been hiding money away in order to make the writer pay for things. Here, as they did many other times, they fought publicly. However, there was one person from the circle of friends in town who had consistently helped to stabilize the writer's mental state. A person who went by Sid, also a name from Final Fantasy, though the author describes him as having, quote, 1 foot in reality. He wrote, Sid occasionally would come over. When he did, I was glad because it was someone else. But he was and still does have his dickish moments. Jen would make these the be-all end-all and Renee would back her up. I began to think he was like that all the time and didn't want to hang out with him when he was gone. Once he came back, they had to restart the process of brainwashing me all over again." Unquote. It was after one of these visits that the writer finally gathered the will to leave. Inspired after someone had stolen his shoes, he left everything behind in the apartment and walked the streets barefoot. By the end, he had spent a total of 2 months living with Jen and Hojo. After being homeless for a few days, Sid helped him gather his things and return to his mother's home in Brooklyn. Besides his own account, the writer spoke of a few others involved with Jen specifically. One account...
So this is weird. So there's another guy named Sid, right? There's another guy named Sid who's involved and knows everyone there. Like, he knows everyone in this situation. And he goes in and he's a dick to everyone. Why they let him in? See, this is like... The reason that this is a weird one is because, like, all you're reading is forum posts. And all I have are questions. Who is Sid? Did he have an actual relationship to any of there in the house? Was it just a friend? Was it a relative? Was it a significant other? What was his relation? When he went in, like you were saying, when he went in, he would break the fake reality they had created in the house, that they were all like Final Fantasy characters. And so he would get some reality back in his head, this Zach, when this guy came in and showed up, right? And then after one of his visits, he basically broke the brainwashing. This is what it is. This is brainwashing. Broke the brainwashing and said, okay, well now I'm going to leave. And so he left with no shoes and walked the streets for 2 weeks. No, 2 days, he said. But how did he run into Sid? Why did Sid help? If Sid was friends with the girls running the house, then why did Sid help him get back to his parents' house? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of unanswered questions here. A lot, right? I don't know. This is very weird. Anyway, we'll continue. I don't know.
Was about someone he referred to as Captain McCool, a sensitive person with whom they sought to fill the vacant spot that the writer had left. When they asked him to move in with them, he was too nervous to turn them down directly, and so he claimed that he had been assaulted to avoid it. When they discovered his lie, they, quote, had him stuck in a chair and forced him to watch while they raped each other. Another person, whom he referred to as Bean, would sell her blood to help fund Jen's lifestyle.
Sell her
At
blood?
the time he was writing the LiveJournal post, she was still living with them, but stayed in the attic and was forced to remain as quiet as possible.
At this point, someone's gonna call police, right? Seriously, at some point, there has to be some kind of law enforcement involvement. If people are being forced to do things against their will, like, at least the guy is like, okay, he was involved because he got roped into it. He didn't realize this is what it was going to be. He thought it was going to be a roommate situation. Next thing you know, his life is in shambles within 2 months. Everything's fucked up for him, right? That I understand. You're tied to a chair and forced to see things that are disgusting you don't want to see. You're being forced to sell your blood. Where are the police? Right? Wait a minute. We're 11 minutes in. There's another 30 minutes of this. How could this possibly continue for 30 minutes? It sounds like the house is about to explode any second. Like, they're going to burn it down. This is a squalid, dump. So, all right.
The writer expected some people in the Final Fantasy community to see this, but he couldn't expect the sort of attention it would receive.
Can I start banning these clowns? What clowns? Who's doing what? Because I'm paying attention to the video. What's going on here? Are people being assholes? Are people coming in and trolling? I'm looking up here now. Is this real life or fan fiction? Supposedly this is real, but of course this is from posts on the internet. And you have to understand, unless they'll explain maybe by the end of the video, it'll say, oh, this is all corroborated by a police report or facts or something. I guess we all have to kind of go on this just being forum post speculation, right? I don't know. All right.
Word spread quickly about the LiveJournal post, and many fans of Final Fantasy, as well as Soul Bonders, commented that they had heard some details about Jen and the group in State College, but hadn't known the extent of their behavior.
So they're
Others who
corroborating
already knew her found these claims unsurprising. Beyond the community, however, this story gained interest on forums, including 4chan, who treated it with disgust and fascination. It was soon adopted into general knowledge as a way to reference poor living conditions and soul bonders, a subsection of a group known as Otherkin. It was here that the infamous story earned its generally recognized name and misnomer, the Final Fantasy VII House, or often just the Final Fantasy House. Though the rest of the internet would sometimes question its veracity, the writer's account seemed generally accepted within the Final Fantasy community. He began to receive testimony from other people affected by the group, many of them people he had met during his time at the apartment. To share their correspondences, he created a website where he cataloged the accounts of those who approached him alongside his own. Due to the limited archival information available, it's difficult to say the rate at which he updated the site with new accounts, but it appears he was receiving them as late as 2006, with each person represented by a pseudonym. Some of these accounts were from people mentioned in the original LiveJournal post, and they helped elucidate the practices of the group and enunciate Jen's and Hojo's behaviors.
Jeez.
These accounts suggest an air of amateurish.
How many people were affected by this? I guess this is something that was going on for years when they were all in college. So this was like, I mean, college is supposed to be 4 years. So for 4 years, they were running this house, having people come in and role play Final Fantasy people and abusing the shit out of them. Jeez.
Yet charisma to everything Jen did. For example, one account from someone going by Zarla wrote, quote, "There were also tarot card readings and such while we were there. Jen had the same tarot deck I had as a kid, the Tarot of the Cat People, and she told my fortune using the exact same method outlined in the little booklet that came with the cards. I can't remember anything really specific about the readings, except there was always mention of something coming after me or something, thus the coughing. If I remember right, later we were playing with a Ouija board and that something or someone was again trying to contact us."
What?
Unquote. These accounts would also unanimously support the assertions about Jen from the original writer. One of the oddest entries, however, was an open letter prefaced by the LiveJournal writer. Quote, "The following was taken from the Wayback Machine. It is posted without consent of the original author, and I want to make that damn clear. She has nothing to do with it being here, so don't involve her. It is being backed up here due to the fact that it contains some current information that I felt should be edited out, like names or references to other people uninvolved. As far as I know, the original author is now happily farming turkeys in Idaho. Don't hassle her."
Okay.
This was written in 2003. The article...
For those of you who don't know what the Wayback Machine is or was, at one point there was a way to find anything that basically had been deleted from the internet at all, like old forum posts, social media stuff. If it was gone, this Wayback Machine would archive it, and you could find it as it's like a data dump website basically. Interestingly enough, a long time ago, I don't even know if you could still do this now, but a long time ago, I had a website in the early 2000s that was meant to be a parody website of a website that top Street Fighter players on the West Coast of the United States was running. It was called topplayers.com. So I didn't like those guys. I was a dick back in the day. I was a real big troll on the internet. And so I made a website called tophaters.com. And my point was that I was supposed to basically be making fun of them. So I ran that site for like a year and a half. I put all kinds of dumb shit on that site, dumb articles about cosplaying and all kinds of shit that I knew was meant to be like offensive for shock value. And that site was deleted, like, no exaggeration, like 15, 20 years ago. And then all of a sudden someone was like, "We found it." I was like, "What?" It's like, yeah, I think they used the Wayback Machine and they found the website. You could still find it. How? That website is so old and it was deleted by me. I deleted it a million years ago, and apparently people still could watch it or read it. I'm like, damn, you gotta be very, very careful about the shit you put on the internet when people can find it, okay? So what he's saying is this is a post from 2003 that apparently was deleted after the fact, but the Wayback Machine found it, okay? By the way, Jen and Hojo have tipped me $4.20. We already know this is fake because, as you know, they had no money, according to the story. Come live with us, Phil. You can be Vincent Valentine. Oh, no. Absolutely not. Hell no. Everyone knows that if I lived in the Final Fantasy VII house, I would be Emerald Weapon. Yeah. Anyway.
Itself is apparently written by another active member of the soul bonding community, though clearly no longer associated with Jen, under the pseudonym Candy Wrapper. The introduction to the letter reads, Genova, when I became your apprentice, you told me to shut up and not argue with you. Apparently, a sorceress is supposed to be a creature who blindly accepts the opinions of the authorities, even when she firmly believes that they are wrong. From this, I learned that when Jen says something I disagree with, I need to nod and make agreeing sounds anyway. Otherwise, we would have to fight every 2 minutes, and quite frankly, saying what I thought wasn't worth the hassle.
Wow.
I am not, however, your apprentice anymore, and I am free to say what I think. And I will, because it's a relief to say it, even if you aren't reading this. I do not actually give a crap whether you read it or not.
Wow.
It will hurt your feelings, and you will care that it happened, and I don't. You have been warned.
So this is crazy. They broke down the people staying at the house so badly that they weren't able to basically have even personalities or say anything. They had to say this, keep their mouths shut, and they were just ultimately in control of everything going on there, every aspect of your life. To the point where this person was so mentally broken down that even if they didn't care if the Jen ever even knew that they wrote it, they had to get it off their chest and post somewhere on the internet what they really thought. Like, that is extreme brainwashing, right? Absolutely it is. Like, damn, that's like, not only did you, that's years of fucking counseling needed to get this fixed. Okay.
The letter is structured as a list, and the first item reveals the name of Jen. You do not look like any Final Fantasy characters.
Oh.
You look like Jennifer Cornett. End of story.
Oh,
she
that's
shared
their
some of her
name.
thoughts on Hojo and her relationship with Jen. If Renee does not go to class and do her homework, it will be difficult for her to pass those classes. Then she is no closer to graduating. Until she graduates, it will be hard for her to get a job that makes more money than she gets now. This is called capitalism, and it's a bitch. No one likes it, but no one has come up with anything that works any better. Renee always
that's
has
debatable.
to call off work or skip class to give you attention. She does this because she loves you. Love makes people do irrational and reckless things. This is one of them. That does not make it a good idea. You are wrecking Renee's life. It is wrong to do so, even if you have her permission. A few
Wow.
other choice lines read, You have no money because you keep spending it on things you want. Anything you want is not automatically a magical item. There may be potential magic in everything, but then there's magic in things you don't bother to look at. Things you can have for free.
So what she's saying is that the brainwashing is so extreme. What Jen says, I want this item because it's a magical item, but everything she always wants is cost something. Buy this, get that has value, monetary value. What she's saying is literally Jen never liked anything that was free. And she's saying she never saw the value of anything in life that wasn't something that had monetary value. She was a very, very possessive, what's the word? A person that only cares about physical things and things you own. I can't remember the word for it right now, but okay. That makes sense. I get that.
Is a magical item, that doesn't mean you must own it. It would be nice if you could, but you can't always do so. I had money because I rarely bought anything for myself. Whenever I got some money,
Materialistic,
I would
thank you.
save it. I am not a money generator, and neither are my parents. If you want to have money, you need to not spend it.
Or earn it, right? It seems in this equation, everyone that stays at this house is paying for everything for this woman, and she's not earning any money, right?
I now do not have money because I spent it on you. Poof, all gone. You still wanted more, but I didn't have any more to give you. I have been using crystals since I was 10 years old. You are wrong when you start with that you won't use them properly shit, because I've been using crystals since elementary school.
All right, now that's just spiritualistic stuff. Some people believe that if you actually have a crystal, that there are certain crystals that possess some kind of energy or magical power. There's even people who try to pass it as pseudoscience and claim that having crystals on your body or proximity to your body can increase blood flow and stuff like that. I've heard all kinds of shit around crystals over the years, and it sounds like they're definitely in that community of people who believe that kind of stuff. So that's what they're referencing here, I believe.
You taught me no magic. The only thing I actually learned from you was to beware of people like you.
Oh, that's true. Bruzy just says it makes sense for Final Fantasy LARPers to believe in crystals. Of course, crystals are a core element of Final Fantasy lore, that there's elemental crystals that have magical powers, and they can either power the planet or people can use them for certain good or bad purposes. That does absolutely make sense. Thank you, Ruzy, for actually saying that. I forgot it was the Final Fantasy house. I thought it was just a nut house, so I wasn't even thinking in terms of Final Fantasy crystals. You see? Okay.
But among these accounts, there was one that stood out from the others, and if it's to be believed, it showed just how far the manipulation of Jen's entourage could go.
Oh, we got another story.
In November of 2005, the LiveJournal writer entered email correspondence with a woman who went by Mela. Mela had apparently known and bonded with Jen in a Utah boarding school, and rediscovered her online through an open letter. Though the quote in the email isn't quite the same, it's highly likely that the letter Mela discovered was the list written by Candy Wrapper. Hoping to reconnect, Mela asked the author of the letter for Jen's information, and sometime after, she visited Jen's residence for 2 weeks. Here, she claims Jen was able to convince her to spend $2,000 on various objects and food by asking only for small amounts at a time. Sometime afterward, likely in 2005, Mela...
Now, wait a minute. Someone just did a super chat. They said, DSP is Aerith from Final Fantasy House. Now, hold on a second here. You can't blow up my spot. All right? Okay, now, obviously it's a joke.
Mela made the decision to begin living with them. Quote, I moved in with $17,000 in my bank account, and soon Jen had drained all of that on necessities, all for the house, many of which went into Jen's room and never came out. Soon I received a check from the investment company for $80,000, and Jen's spending began again in earnest. I tried to get her to stop spending money on frivolous things, but every time I said no or told her she should spend her own money buying things for herself, she threw a fit.
So what? Well, I just don't understand this. I really am struggling to understand this story. Why are people doing what she tells them to do? Right? Why? Oh, so I decided to visit for 2 weeks and move in, and I spent $17,000. Why? What are you talking about? Why did you do that? I don't get it. I really don't understand it. Why? What was there actually like fucking gas in the air? Mind control gas? Why would you move in and immediately start spending money on them? I don't understand it. I could understand if it was like, okay, it's you and a couple people you know. We're going to go get an apartment together, okay? So all of us signed the lease together, 3 tenants. We all agree to, okay, we're going to throw in a certain amount of money for the rent. You're responsible for this, you're responsible for this, you're responsible for this, right? That's how it kind of works. Like, I had a room. Once I had an apartment. I shared it with 2 roommates. Hold on. I forgot that I could do this. I was sharing an apartment with 2 roommates who were co-workers of mine. We all worked at the same mortgage company. Okay? And right up front, we said, if we're going to look for a place, we got to agree it's going to be 3 bedrooms. This is what we want in the place, right? And it's going to be shared rent. And we're going to have all these. You're going to do this responsibility. You're going to do this responsibility. Did all up front. When we moved in, all right, everyone did their part. And there actually was a situation where one of us lost their job. It wasn't me. It was one of the roommates lost their job. And luckily, they had saved up enough money to still pay the rent. They really couldn't pay for anything else, but they stayed to their agreement. They paid the rent. My other roommate was terrified that this guy was basically going to stop paying the rent, and we were all going to get fucked. But he didn't. He kept paying his rent and everything. And even then, after living there for about, it was about a year. It was a 1-year lease. That's right. We did it for a year. I decided I wasn't going to live there anymore because I had switched jobs and really couldn't afford it. The guy who had lost his job moved away back home with his parents, and the other roommate went and got an apartment with other people who had lived in our apartment complex who we were friendly with. So it was kind of like, well, broke apart or whatever. So you see what I'm saying? Like, that's how this works. What is this situation? Oh, I have a place. Come stay with me. But as soon as you show up, like, you pay money, pay for this, pay for that, pay for this, pay for that. After the first day, aren't you like, wait a minute? I didn't show up to be your ATM. What is going on here? Like, I'm here. We're supposed to have shared responsibility, shared everything. I'm not going to keep giving you money, and you're not going to, what is it? But just look at this. $17,000 spent, which was drained quickly, and now it says there was an investment company check, And she wants, like, what is going on? Why are you spending all this money? I'm lost. Yeah, seriously, like, to me, it seems like people have no willpower. They moved in and just do whatever we're told. Like, this is crazy to me that you would do that. Because this is your life. This isn't like you're fucking around. You know, $17,000 is a significant amount of money. $80,000 is life-changing for a lot of people. And you're just pissing it away on someone because they asked you to? You know? I'm very confused at the situation. I don't know if we'll get any elaboration, but to me, this is, like, very confusing. By the way, I got a $2 tip from Derby Day talking about the Kentucky Derby. I have no idea why. I don't care. But thanks for the tip, I guess. I'm not going to read that giant paragraph you typed about the Kentucky Derby. Okay. Alrighty then. Let's continue.
All this time, she was telling me how important I was to her special plan, how the world needed us to stick together so we could conquer evil, etc. I wanted desperately to feel special. I was scared and alone, and I believed her.
Oh my God.
She knew a few magic tricks, was very good at reading people, and could give relatively accurate tarot readings. I fell for her lies, hook, line, and sinker.
Alright, so... Alright, I gotta switch back. Thank you, guys. I accidentally didn't switch back. So now, that actually just answered everything, right? That actually makes sense. So these are people who basically have a situation where, like you said, I wanted to desperately feel special. I was scared and alone. People who already have issues, they don't feel good about themselves, they maybe hate themselves, or, you know, they just have really major problems with lack of self-confidence or whatever. They're moving into a situation where here's someone who's saying, you're special. You're part of something special. We believe that we're actually characters from a video game. And we're doing something special here. We're spiritualists. And look, we have power in our crystals. So yeah, it's a cult. It's 100% this is a cult. Right? That's absolutely what this situation was. And people just kept falling for it over and over. A cult situation. Damn, that sucks. And that's really, really bad. Brandon Cole says, you clearly don't understand what happens in an abusive cases. I was actually made to feel small by my family for years, and I believed it. That's terrible, man. Like, seriously, I feel so bad when I hear stories like this. Obviously, okay, now here's an interesting question. All right? We're only halfway through, by the way, halfway through the video. Do you guys think that this Jen person actually knew it was all bullshit and was doing this to essentially run a small cult and get away with it? Because when you hear these situations about cults, you know, you think about what was the one in Texas? Was it Heaven's Gate or whatever? You always question the people who are running these things. Do they believe their own bullshit, right? Or are they doing it literally to control a group of people and get what they want? Did Jen really think that she was a fucking Final Fantasy character and that she had power crystals and her tarot card readings were spiritual readings into another dimension? You know what I'm saying? Or was she actually just manipulating everyone around her to get fucking free shit constantly? And then when one situation failed, oh, that apartment was full of squalor. Oh, we're moving out. We'll go to another one, start over, right? It was just like an endless cycle of pulling new people in, making them believe bullshit because they basically had insecurities or, you know, things that were going on, basically preying upon their own weakness in a way. And to get what she wants. Suck the money out of them. Suck everything out of them. You know what I mean? And then discard them after. Or, in this case, it's not clear because obviously there's a lot of people who've been involved in this situation. It wasn't just like 3 or 4 people. You're getting all these people now who are going to start posting up and giving their testimonials. How did these people leave? Because it seems like a lot of them, they purposely left because they couldn't take it anymore. But would she have kept them in the group even if they could not pay for stuff anymore? Because it really feels like this is a situation where it's all about the money. You got someone who has a job, someone who's going to make the, you know, basically make the bread for everyone in the house, right? If they were no longer away or to get money, right? Then would they be kicked out? This is interesting. Well, I'm curious to hear the next part of this story, you know. Okay. Anyway, thank you guys for, by the way, thank you guys for the very impromptu stream. I knew we weren't going to get a ton of people tonight because it's impromptu and it's also something that has really nothing to do with me. But we got a good amount of people on the stream tonight. Over 100 likes already. Thank you guys for that. And thank you to those who have supported the stream tonight, even though it was a weird impromptu stream. I appreciate that. If you are watching this on demand on YouTube, remember, if you like this kind of content, give the video a like, leave comments on what you think, And now you can actually support this content with super thanks as well if you would like to, okay? All right, let's continue.
Unquote. After she moved in, it was clear that Hojo's relationship with Jen had deteriorated, and she had been supplanted by a new person named Angel, who Mela claimed was remarkably violent. Jen was now sleeping exclusively with Angel, though sometimes Hojo would sleep with Angel as well. Hojo was forced to stay extremely silent during the day or risk being berated by Jen. This information strongly suggests that Hojo was the one who was selling blood to fund Jen.
Oh my
Their
God.
hygiene was also still abysmal. Quote, "Oh, how Jen smelled."
Oh.
Angel was much worse, though. I don't think that girl ever bathed. They just kept adding perfume,
Oh.
and Jen's purple skirt/dress stinked to high heaven. That was until I made her other clothes to wear. Jen, during this time, was apparently made aware of the LiveJournal writer's website as well. At some point, it appears that they moved somewhere new, and it was here that she claimed she was beaten on multiple occasions.
Beaten?
Once, during a dispute, one of them grabbed onto Mela's hair and started slamming her head into the floor, while Jen and Angel beat her with their fists, then sat on her and attempted to choke her.
Oh my
Finally,
God.
she passed out from the head trauma. Jen would later convince her that she had attacked Jen first, then blacked out.
Right.
Eventually, Mela would tolerate no more, and she kicked them out.
Good.
Much like their apartment.
Which
the
is
house
crazy because that's right. I forgot that it was her place to begin with. She was the one who had the apartment. Oh my God. That's even a crazier thing. It's your apartment and you're letting these people move in and fuck you up? Wow. You know, next level abuse, man. We're actually going to get pictures? We're actually going to get pictures. All right.
left a mess, which Mela documented with photographs. They also had stolen numerous objects upon their departure, including board games, fabric, and a set of corsets.
There's nothing
though her
furnished
demand
at
for
all.
back payments of rent, quote, in excess of 10K.
Just look at this, right? There's like no real furniture. There's not even sheets on the bed. There's absolutely no attempt to clean or keep order to anything in the house. It's like they just moved in and just sat down on the floor and started doing things, right? Like, what the fuck? This is weird. This is just wild. They lived like this for months, sometimes years, with nothing in it? Why? Here, okay, I want $17,000. Okay, let's buy a couch to sit on. How about a TV? No, they just sat there. It sounds to me like they just sat there on their laptops, right? Just sit there on their fucking laptop all day. Fuck, man.
Is suspicious.
And thank God it's a hardwood floor. Can you imagine if this was carpeting? How stained and disgusting the carpeting probably would have been?
Inexact. While this account is consistent with other reports of the group's behavior, there was no method by which anyone...
Why is there Tide? Why is there Tide if they didn't actually clean anything? They bought Tide, they just left it in the container, and they never washed any clothes.
One could verify the veracity of any of them, instead leaving only the word of the writers.
Can of Lysol.
Alongside this, the author would finally reveal the faces of Jen and Hojo.
Oh,
In the
boy.
frequently asked questions section, he wrote, "Is this photo Vincent/Jen/Hojo? 90% of the time, no. This was Jen in 1999. She got fatter and dirtier. This was Renee in 2000.
Oh my God, they're really wearing lab coats. I thought that, okay, they always wear lab coats. Okay. They always wear
Looks the
lab
same.
coats.
In response to this attention, Jen and Hojo began to frantically delete most traces of themselves online, and even with their names publicly available, nobody could find them. After this, the attention on these stories began to wane. But only a few years after the accounts were posted, the Final Fantasy house would return in a way that nobody expected and, at first, seemed entirely unrelated.
Really? Okay. We're halfway through.
On July 15th, 2008, a LiveJournal user by the name of Dragon Tiger Claw wrote a post entitled Insane Housemate Part 1 and published it on Housemate Horror, an open, moderated page where people could share their stories of bad roommates. The opening reads, quote, "I used to live in an awesome situation in SoCal until the housemate from hell moved in. Fortunately, she has left, but the bitterness remains on my tongue. It is a saga that can only be told in pieces. Please bear with me." In the cut, you will find part 1 of the saga involving the girl who believed she was a video game character. Unquote.
This is
Soon,
2008,
the author would name
years later.
himself as Pete. The tale was structured in irregularly sized sections, with many of them ending on cliffhangers. He explained that he was living with 5 other people in a 4-story house. He claimed that the rent was a preposterously low $500 a month, and that the landlord, Matt, kept it that way because his chief concern was that he wanted company in the house he had inherited.
Whoa, that's insanely cheap for 2008. I mean, my apartment, my 3-bedroom apartment that I had in mid-2000s, around 2005, I want to say, that was over $1,000 a month at that time. You know, it wasn't that much more than that. It was probably like maybe, I want to say like $11.50 a month or something like that. But a 4-bedroom house, and it's $500 a month. Well, I guess the question is, how many people were staying there, right? Like, how many, is this just for, there's a lot of questions here. But $500 is very cheap for rent anywhere, especially at this time in 2008. That's years after I had my last apartment. Yeah. So, and it, you know, so here you go. Immediately, why is it attractive? Why is it an attractive venture? Because, you know, oh, it's insanely cheap rent in Southern California, SoCal. Very popular place to live in California, for those who don't know. A lot around there. A lot of popular things to visit, tourism, all kinds of stuff in SoCal. So it kind of makes sense that you'd be a very attractive place to stay, right? Huh. Interesting. Do you think the FaZe house looks similar to those pictures? I don't know. What's the FaZe house? I mean, FaZe clan all live in a house and game together? I have no clue. Those are weird stories and situations. I would never want to live in like a gamer house. I've heard stories about these gamer houses, like, oh, we all sit here, we play the same game, we practice with each other and shit. Nothing good can come of it. You always get the horror stories out of them, right? The gamer house. All right, this is actually a good place because we are exactly halfway through. This is actually a really good place to split the video. I split this into 50-minute to hour-long parts to make it more digestible. So it sounds like this will be a 2-parter. And good thing, we're halfway through, and I have about a little over an hour kind of left to stream tonight. We'll definitely get this finished tonight, which is excellent. I'm happy that you know, we're kind of on pace to get through it. But so this is weird because now we're going to part 2 years later. This saga continues. It didn't end. Okay. Alrighty then. So thank you guys for watching part 1. If you're watching this on demand on YouTube, there will be a part 2. Please give it a look. And if you enjoyed this part, again, you know, appreciate any likes, comments, anything else. Thank you. All right.